Often when we're in our 50s, 60s and beyond, many of us find ourselves with decent levels of financial resources, but often limited amounts of time to properly consider the next chapter of our lives. We're as busy as ever, but find ourselves becoming increasingly frustrated at not finding the time to try some new things that might inform the next chapter of our lives. You've got kids who might still be younger, you've got parents that are getting older, and you're in the middle trying to work out what you want to do next, but without the most important resource to do it, the time to think about what the next chapter is. Because time is our valuable resource at this stage of our lives, and it's the most finite resource we own. Money can come and go, status can rise and fall, even health can change, but time only moves in one direction. It never compounds, and always, for every single one of us, at some point, is going to run out. So the real question we need to ask ourselves often isn't how do I retire with enough money? It's how do I use my money both wisely and intentionally, but also compassionately, to create more time for what matters in my life. I believe one thing that we don't focus prominently enough on is using money to buy time back. And that's why in this video I'm going to talk about why spending money to buy back time is a fantastic idea you should consider. Welcome to What Happens Next. It's interesting, particularly in the Western world. Many of us have been taught to treat money as a scoreboard. We accumulate more, we earn more, we save more, we invest more. The challenge we face is when we're simply too busy with life doing this, playing this money game, we fail to consider what happens next, but also what's important in our life. That's why when we talk about things and what happens next, it's never individually and solely a money question. It's about the combination of things we always discuss on the channel. Purpose, identity, well-being, relationships, and the finite nature of time, often all woven together. And that's why buying back time is something that we should have probably spoken about months ago, but I want to highlight today. Because buying back time can be a really fundamental well-being strategy. And the research backs this up. One of my favourite books on spending money to make us happy is the really perfectly titled Happy Money by Elizabeth Dunn. And in this book, they talk about the fact that, for example, buying experiences over material things is a better way to make us happy because we get the anticipation of the experience, the actual doing of the experience, and then we get to remember it. They also talk in Happy Money about giving to people to help others is a really good way to use money to make us happier, because actually evidence has shown that helping others, giving money to help others is a really good way to improve our own well-being. But one they talk about in Happy Money that I want to focus on today is the art of buying back time. Because researchers and organisational experts have spent years studying time poverty, that persistent feeling of being a bit overloaded, and time affluence, the sense that you've got enough time and you've got freedom of time. And the evidence is super clear. Time poverty is consistently linked to lower well-being, worse health, and reduced functioning. Time affluence, feeling that we've got enough time, meanwhile, is associated with greater well-being and better life outcomes. Put simply, feeling time poor can make life feel smaller, but feeling time rich can make anything feel possible. And this is where we might need a bit of a reframe, because Interestingly, I think if we know we've got enough or we're on track to achieve that financial enough, the way that we look at spending money might have to change, because it might not be how do I accumulate more, how do I become richer. It might be how do I use that money to buy back time. Now, if you watch this channel regularly, you know that I love the phrase memento mori, meaning remember death. And often it's seen as a bit of a gloomy fixation of mine, but I see it as the complete opposite. I see it as a clarifying lens, a opportunity to remember life is finite. And in this occasion, it's also to think about what deserves your time and attention and what doesn't. Because buying back time in many ways is applying memento mori. It's remembering what's important in your life and spending time doing that, but using your financial resources to mean that the jobs that you don't enjoy or potentially you're not good at, or even better both, you don't actually do. So how would you start to think about using your time as a limited resource and your money to buy back time? The first step is with a pen or paper or a recording app on your phone or whatever way you do it, think about the tasks and record the tasks you really don't like doing. What are the tasks that you do fairly regularly that you just simply don't enjoy? The question that I'd ask yourself is, what do I do each week that makes me feel depleted, irritated, or makes me question why my life is actually like this? What takes time out of my week but just gives me no meaning, purpose, or energy? Examples for you might be cleaning, shopping, doing the garden, or all of the life admin. For others, they're going to love that stuff. And that's why buying back time with the elements that you really don't like doing is unique. Because I've got 2 clients in my chart financial planning practice. One loves nothing better than to spend time out in a garden. The other one couldn't think of anything worse. So the goal here is to identify how you spend your time, how you enjoy your time, and whether there's tasks that you could simply outsource to somebody else who actually enjoys that, or you can pay to do it to make sure that you're in a position where your time works well. Because if you pay to remove that job that you really don't like, you pay to remove the drain, you don't just get the time back. You also get much needed headspace to decide what you want to do in the next chapter of your life. And the next incremental step might be just to work out what the next job you're going to pay somebody else to do is, so you can remove it from your list. I think there's a really interesting tiny experiment you can use to buy back some of your time. This month, choose a fixed amount. Now, depending on your budget, it might be 100, 250, £500, completely depending on what you are. Assign that money a task. That task for that money is you can only spend it on purchases that actually save you time. Then, once that purchase has been made, track how many hours or minutes spending that money saved you, how much stress it reduced, how much you enjoyed the time that you gained back, and what did you do with it at the same time? Because understanding all of those elements allowed you to think, did this feel like I bought a bit more of a better life or just a slightly easier week? And both of them fine, but both give you the information you need to decide whether that purchase to buy back time is worthwhile. The other experiment I'd recommend is schedule in some awe. Now, awe is a really interesting concept, and it's one that came up originally. I heard about the concept of awe as a model from my interview with John Dunkley, which is definitely worth a watch, by the way. We'll put a link in the comments below, but yeah, you certainly give that a go. Awe is the thing you do that gives you wonder in your life. So hedonism is the stuff we really enjoy doing. Eudaimonism comes from purpose and meaning and doing work we love. Or is spending time looking at the world through a lens of inspiration. Now, I'd suggest that if you're doing that every week, you want to do it outside your home without the screens and make it a slightly novel experience. That might include a sunset walk, a museum on a quiet weekday, a coastline trip, live music, a forest you've never visited. Or changes your perspective often, and the science suggests it can help you increase connection and become more generous. And what it might do is unlock the opportunity for you to think about the next chapter of your life. Experiment number 3 is to write a stop doing list. Right now, get a pen and a piece of paper and write the 10 things that you are doing that are optional but drain your energy. Then choose to stop one for 30 days. Because this experiment isn't actually about productivity. It's about thinking through how you spend your time and how your identity can potentially shift in the next chapter of your life. And removing just being busy from your list of things to do is a really good way to work out what you might want to do next. If there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's this. Your wealth isn't just security. It's a tool designed to allow you to spend your time, which is your most valuable and finite resource, doing what you want. So yes, plan for what happens next, absolutely. But also think about your journey along the way and think about what it would look like if you use some of the resources now to buy back a little time and spend that time on the things you absolutely love. Also, I'd ask myself the question, how do I use my money to create more time in my life, not only now, but for years to come? Hopefully that's useful, but there's a couple of additional videos you might want to watch. In this video, I talk a lot more about tiny experiments and why I believe it's the key to building the next chapter of your life, tiny experiment by tiny experiment. And in this video, I talk about mindset, why it's so important, and how it can help you to work out what happens next. Hopefully that's useful. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you on the channel soon.